Hello, Utah Dota group.
Oh, hi, Utah Dota.
Yeah, I'm here with your friend Kevin. I wish you guys were all here.
Hello.
Demon here.
Hi, Utah.
Hello, Utah Dota.
Yes.
I don't even know where Utah is.
Hey guys, how's it going? This is Zero2Infinity from Crowd Control.
This is Happy, also from Crowd Control.
And today we will be going over a player submission replay, and we're going to do a replay analysis on it. The player is actually OziixD. He will be playing the Pudge in this game, and what we're going to go over today, the main topics are, we're going to talk about the Dire's late game composition, some Radiant strengths, and our main focus on today's topic will be on map control.
Yes, map control is a very important topic. It has quite a few benefits. You can create farming areas for your team. You can create roaming and ganking patterns for your team so you can get kills, as well as limiting the enemy team. So it's both a defensive, in bolstering your own goal, as well as an offensive capability in limiting enemy farm.
Alright, so let's get this started here. So we're going to go and put this on a free camera, and the main player we're actually going to want to focus on here is actually the Pudge.
Better get ready.
And with all Pudge games, you want to look at the hooks, so we'll keep the flashy hooks on screen as much as we can, as well as try to analyze potentially what decisions helped one team win over the other.
So one thing we want to talk about here, just real fast, I want to throw a shout out. This is for random smiley face guy. He's one of the Utah members, but he actually created this really awesome Pudge set that it's a sweet arcana, I think, where the beard actually grows as you get more and more kills on this. So it's got a little goatee going on.
Yeah, shout out to him. Great sets.
Yeah, so one of the things we want to talk about here is really the Dire's late game composition. We got some nasty heroes here. They go too late game, they're going to be very out of control, particularly this Medusa here. And we also have an anti-mage, Lena, and also the Elder Titan, which offers a lot, especially with his natural order spell.
Yeah, not to mention the Lycan, Howl to boost everybody's damage, But on the Radiant side, let's not count them out. PL's fairly decent late game, but Chaos Knight is really good late game.
It's true. So we're going to start watching these lanes play out itself. We're going to actually speed this game up as we usually do on the replay analysis, so that way we can really get straight to the action. So we're going to go through and actually fast forward through some parts and really stop it at points where we want to watch out for. So the first scene we're going to go check out is actually the first blood. And actually looks like...
Well, that won't be happening for a while, but, let's take a look at some laning stage. How things are developing. You can see the Dire Lycan goes for the jungle. It's an easy way to secure some farm. I think lane Lycan, if you can get all the free farm you want, is slightly more efficient, but seeing as how they have so many late game carries in both Medusa and Anti-Mage, make it safe, give Lycan some farm, whatever he can get alongside these two carries who also do need farm.
Alright. So, like Happy mentioned, Lycan's going to start going through the jungle as quickly as possible. This is going to give him a lot of push power, especially if he's going to plan on building a Necronomicon. That makes it so that way his rolls get a lot more strength, and it's really going to help him push those waves out as quickly as possible. Not to mention, his Howl actually works for his entire team, which really gives a ton of output damage.
And I want to maybe watch out for bot lane. I think that's a very potent combo, The great Chaos Knight Stun. Oh, it was top lane, actually. Looks like potentially a landed stun from the Leshrac. Let's look at this. Oh, it's definitely just... Maybe got a little bit out of position here. Things happen. But I want to mention that the spell damage... Ooh, that was a far range stun. The spell damage offered on this lane, most often nowadays you see Leshracs go mid, you see PLs go safe lane, but this combines some form of putting this into an aggressive duo lane against Anti-Mage. And as you all know, Anti-Mage is not a very strong laner, so this actually puts quite a bit of pressure on the Anti-Mage and does limit his farm.
So the next thing we actually want to watch out here as well is actually taking a look at a spot lane. We do see the Chaos Knight and the Disruptor actually taking the bottom lane against the Elder Titan off lane. It is a solo Elder Titan who's actually not a bad hero to off lane. He's got that spirit, Astral Spirit, and he can actually stay farming decently well by himself.
One of his major problems, though, is that he doesn't have an escape. And so if you can see that Chaos Knight throws out a stun, oh, maybe right here we'll see it. Nice, huge damage on that stun. You know, trap him in, he can get glimpse back. Reality Rift positions him in so that he has to walk around, and that really does kind of mess with his ability to do damage, or, well, get away. There's a lot of damage output from the Radiant side. And so Elder Titan's not as survivable in the off lane. However, he does offer quite a bit in his natural order passive.
So let's talk about this Pudge real fast. Since OziixD is one to actually submit his free play, we're going to look at his item builds real fast. So Happy, we have a Ring of Basilius and 2 Tangos. What do you think about the item build here for him?
Curious on the Ring of Basilius, because Pudge generally gets a bottle for his mana issues, and the armor aspect of the Ring of Basilius isn't as good as a Stout Shield in the early game. Stout Shield gives block chance, and block chance is actually much more effective in the early game when people do like under 100 damage in right click. Armor does not do reduce enough percentage-wise to make it worth it.
I think another thing too that you should really utilize as Pudge is that you don't necessarily need to right click to get your last hits. You can actually use your rot to pull those off, which makes things a little bit easier, especially if you are clearing out a nice big creep wave. And we actually see him going for the top rune right here. So.
Nice, grabs it, and as you can see, the disruptor rotates bottom. So this is something that, you know, our main objective today with this replay is to focus on map control. And this is some just basic early game map control. Getting the rune is something very important, although nothing quite resulted huge out of this because, you know, no kills resulted. You want to realize that if that was a haste or a double damage rune picked up by a support, you could potentially run in and kill mid. And oh, well, look at this. There's a ping. Maybe it's going on bottom. To get a nice, sleeps them both though. However, that's the power of the Elder Titan on the off lane. You can see it. When that Astral Spirit returns, it gives him so much plus damage. He can just like 2-hit some people after the Astral Spirit. It's a little bit bonkers. Top lane?
Oh man, we actually see Lina go down to the Phantom Assassin, the Phantom Lancer. I mean, this is, again, a really nasty combo that you mentioned. It's just that Phantom Lancer has a lot to offer in terms of farming against an Anti-Mage when he has a Leshrac supporting him. But
and
I
you
mean,
can see
now,
it.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you can see it in the CS. You know, the Phantom Lancer has his 27 CS to the Anti-Mage's 12. You can see that just the slightly stronger right clicks in damage, as well as the spellcasting. Oh, real quick, bottom lane. Oof. Does a lot of damage, but the Elder Titan does go down there. You know, the spell damage from the Leshrac and the lances that come out from the Phantom Lancer, they just do too much magic damage for the Dire team to deal with on the top lane. You know, Lina's rather squishy of a hero. Anti-Mage has no spell damage to offer, just an escape, really, and just his right clicks. There's not quite a counterplay for the Dire team.
So we actually have a lot of action going down in the top lane right now. Let's zoom out a bit and really take a look and see the positioning that's going on here, especially with the Leshrac. Looks like he's preparing maybe to go for a lightning bolt against the Anti-Mage.
Looks like he's just getting off decent damage. Misses the split earth there, but I want to draw your attention slightly below this lane to the 2 ward spots in this top area here. Now, this is a pretty decent play from both teams, whereas the Dire ward here gives pretty decent vision and sees the Leshrac whenever he wants to roll in for like an extra attack or stun. It gives Anti-Mage a little bit of a warning, and see, that ward right there allows for things like this kill. They see him trying to walk around.
And that's a great example of one of the things we're talking about today is just really limiting any enemy movement. I mean, limiting enemy movement doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're blocking them off, but it's just the fact of knowing exactly where they're going to go at all times. So they don't have a whole lot of options in terms of farming or getting any ganks off.
Alright, and it looks like while we were talking about that, Medusa got 2 kills mid. You know, it's just maybe an outplay thing. They overextended onto the Mana Shield. Mana Shield kept her... Oh, not even Mana Shield leveled. Maybe the Snake. There you go.
Let's play it and see what happened here then.
Let's see. It goes... So our friend Ozzy, is prompted by a haste rune grabbed by the Disruptor. Great map awareness there. But he goes in for the Rot, but he's taking too much creep damage. And a nice Mystic Stake finishes off the rest of it. See... That's something, it's just a slight little mistake about walking into too many creeps to turn on Rot. Rot does do self-damage, and hence calls for the kill.
Yeah, so let's take a look here and see what else we have going on. So
The Dive best do something about that bomb.
And so you know, laning phase is kind of establishing itself. Lycan's getting some pretty decent farm in the jungle. Medusa's getting good CS on the mid, and it looks like all the cores are farming to their best.
Alright, so we actually have a play coming up here at about 8 minutes. We actually want to watch out for what's happening with the Leshrac and Medusa against each other.
Oh, he's trying to go for the stun. If he can get the stun off, you know, Medusa's in a lot of trouble. Oh, perfect! Nice. That is the type of play we're looking for.
That was actually really great positioning there. And that's actually one of the examples we want to talk about in terms of making sure that you're roaming and ganking a lot of plays. And we say mishook. But again, I mean, it's just making sure you have a lot of communication with your team. The Leshrac and the Pudge offer a lot in terms of ganking. I mean, Pudge can hook somebody and bring in for a split or stun, and then from there on out, just really finish them off. Offers a lot of damage.
Yeah, great plays. He's gonna come for a loop around. Maybe he'll grab something.
We're gonna speed this up.
Yeah, one thing I want to mention is we mentioned Dire's late game. You know, Medusa, Lycan, Anti-Mage, Lina even to an extent with a Refresher Orb. Crazy late game damage. It's something that you really want to watch out for. So what Radiant can do here is bring the aggression to the Dire side. And I think their winning play is to, you know, put the damage. This is perfect right here. Using your ult to push out the bottom lane. It's going to be very important to
Do something about that bomb tower.
create map control. And map control, you know, if you take out towers, it limits their areas of safety. When you take out a tower, it does two real specific things here. It limits ability to TP. It also limits ability to run into just a tower and grab extra help from the tower right clicks. As we see here, seems like quite a bit of a skirmish. Nice stomp, keeps him alive. But back to what I said about this bottom lane is CK's push there now limits whenever maybe some person's farming near the bottom tier 3 or tier 1 tower on the Dire side. No TP support can come in at a fast rate, and so map control is very important in that regard.
We're still seeing these wards here actually just watching out for each other's teams. I mean, there's really no way either team can successfully move into each other's area to really get off a successful gank or anything like that.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's really good awareness. You know, knowing that Lycan's in the jungle, Elder Titan's already rotated about twice up to top lane. You want to have vision behind those trees to never really get surprised off, you know? This is also really good. No, nice. Look at this. Using his illusions to scout for some vision. I think one thing you can also do here is micro your illusions a little bit when they start getting attacked. Move them away so you can keep them alive as long as possible.
So we actually have another play coming up here on the Pudge. So we're actually going to slow this down just a little bit. We're going to keep a lookout and see what's actually going to happen here. So we see a splitter coming out. Pudge is actually going to try to climb right back out. And we got 3 people roaming in towards him to try to get a gank. Disruptor is coming in. Nice connect filled. I think he was actually trying to stop them from actually killing the Pudge there.
There's some rotation. I think something that's very key here is Pudge could have expected some mid TPs. Some TPs mid, right around here in...
Yeah, let's replay a little bit. Sorry, bad camera control.
Stomp here, you know, he should probably ask for some help. You can have a Leshrac you see walking on the minimap towards the base right now. Should probably come up unless he's like super low health. Oh, he is super low health. But a PL TP here to the mid lane could potentially net some kills. You see the Medusa cut off on the backside. Lycan's level 1 Wolf is not very strong, or it doesn't last very long. So combined with a Disruptor ult, there could have potentially netted some kills. And that's some awareness that you want to develop as you play this game.
Alright, so let's speed this up to some of the next plays that we have going on here.
Radiant's
But so
mid
far, I
tower's
mean,
getting
let's take a look
banged
and
up.
see what everybody's building. I mean, fairly standard builds. One thing I really liked about this game is that no team was actually overextending too much. Everybody's trying really hard to pull off a good game. And just playing really their best. I mean, we see a lot of early replays, especially with newer players, that they dive way too hard trying to secure a kill. And one thing that we talked about in an earlier MMR Theory video is the
Radiant's
importance
top
of
tower's hurting.
decision plays versus being outplayed.
Yes, exactly. And, you know, you'll see it in this game. You want to go for the outplays. You want to go for the big disruptor static storms. But the decision plays, like we say, is when to push, how to limit the enemy team, ganking them. those are the plays that will actually end up proving more in the long run and causing a lot more damage.
Alright, so it looks like we have actually a play coming up here. Let's take a look and see what's going to happen in a bot river. Alright, 14 minutes is what we saw, right?
I think right around here. Going maybe for this Roche contest, because Lycan, as you can see, has smoked his wolves up. He has a Vlad's, and so Lycan with Vlad's plus a medallion can easily do Roche. But as he walks in here, Leshrac just happens to come in and scout it, and so Leshrac obviously wants to stop that. But Elder Titan's there with a great stomp to clean it up. Nice medallion. Oh, with the
nice
stun.
Splitter stun.
But you see here still no help coming from the other team. I guess maybe they're too focused mid or something, but you know, if both Pudge came down as well as maybe a TP from the Disruptor, there could have been a lot more plays that could be had.
I think this is the next big play that we're seeing coming out here as well. It was right here in the mid. We see the Pudge positioning his illusions. This is another really important thing, especially if you're playing as a Pudge. Positioning is a really big deal for players like Pudge. He gets a nice hook on the anti-mage. You know, the thing I really liked too on that particular play was that Pudge actually utilized his tower when he hooked the anti-mage to really get more additional output damage, since he doesn't have enough DPS to finish him off. He is going to get caught out here though by the Lycan.
Yeah, chase down, you know, sometimes you just take too much rot damage and you're going to get run down.
At this point, I think it would have been a good idea, and he called it. He does a nice rot and actually commits suicide, and basically denies the farm for these heroes. So that was actually a really good play. I thought that was really good. Let's get on to the next play that we're seeing here. It's going to be about 16 minutes and 30 seconds in.
Okay. You know, as we talk about these plays, here's where the mid game starts shaping up, and these early game plays, they don't matter as much anymore. You know, going over like maybe a kill here or kill there. Now what matters in the mid game is what you do after the kills. You know, you're gonna find a kill here, maybe a great hook. Oh, pulls a creep, does not quite catch it. But the whole idea is, what do you do after you kill someone? Do you go push a tower? Do you split up and farm so you can get ahead? Or do you go for a Roshan? Get the Aegis and make further plays. That's something that are very precise decisions you have to make in order to create the best chance for your team to win in the late game.
Alright, so we actually have another big play coming up right here. We see Pudge actually positioning himself in the visibility rune.
Nice.
He's actually waiting for a nice hook. See his stomp there, kinetic field coming up.
Not quite the best splitter. I mean, has been better.
Now, do you think the Pudge is actually in a great position? Why do you think he didn't hook there?
I think the Medusa's too tanky with the mana shield up. Nice hook there, grabs the rod off, and CK comes in to finish on the backside. And here, you know, a team fight comes out. What you should be doing with everyone is shoving mid, and that is a perfect decision by the Radiant team. Use the Pudge advantage of, you know, being hooked out. Use that factor, the scare factor, to go in and push your tower. You know, while that happened, look at PL on the bot lane.
He was busy actually pushing out this tower. And that's actually one thing that's really important. Limiting enemy movement also has taking away a lot of vision as well. And the PL took great advantage of those team fights. He knew his entire team was actually going through the fights. And in the meantime, Lycan's actually going to go through and secure.
Yeah. One of the reasons Dire never really defended that mid tower was, well, Lycan was doing Roche that entire time. It looks like Pudge might be trying to catch a hook over on the Lycan. Can he grab the hook? Perhaps. Well, it looks like, oh, and then he gets the PL gets the lance off, pops the Aegis of the Lycan on the top side, you know, and so this is a decision I want to talk about that the Lycan made. Is he went for a Roche a little prematurely, doesn't quite have the lifesteal to do it yet, so he walked out with really low health. Even though he gets the Roche gold and the Roche experience, the Aegis goes completely wasted there because he walks out with such low health. A single lance killed the Aegis.
Do you think it was worth actually getting the Roche though to get his team that level and gold?
I don't think so, because there was a mid tower traded for it. You'll be giving them gold advantage from the tower, but you're going to get some of it back from the Roche. You get some experience, however, you know, map control is a permanent thing. Roche respawns, so does the Aegis. However, your towers never come back.
So here's the power to the Chaos Knight, just having his illusions actually going on fire right here. We actually see a team fight being chased against each other. Let's take a look and see what's going on.
Huge team fight, but let's pay attention to how this team fight unfolds. You know, you got a great hook on the Animage, catches out people on the back. PL dies over there in the meantime. It looks like it's going to be traded for a... Oh, Animage does get the blink away. Maybe the Pudge did not have enough damage to kill it.
Let's try one more time. We'll go at a slower speed. So, and take a look here. What we're seeing, it's just like you mentioned, PL was able to blink away.
Or the Anti-Mage.
Sorry, Anti-Mage.
And, you know, you're going to go for the hook, and you want to pay attention here to the decision making. What is Dire going to do with his advantage they just did? You know, things like this, these happen. You're going to have kills come in through whatever, through the outplays here.
He actually got a suicide off there too. I mean, this.
Yeah, that's just an outplay. But with the gameplay decision, that's the important thing here is, do you use this space to go farm, right? And, you know, fights like this, they're going to happen. However, right after this, you're only going to get the fight advantage. If you misplay in the future, they're going to get the fight advantage. It's how you use that advantage here to go farm. That's the key part. And so this is a pretty good play here. Slightly delayed after that advantage is the Anti-Mage uses it to go for some farm. Lina goes for some top farm, pressures the top tower. However, I think right there, the better decision was to have the winners of the fight, Medusa and I think the Lycan and the Elder Titan, go farm the enemy jungle. Take away some of their gold. These little efficiency things will add up more than you think. Those are the unnoticed things that the outplay does not give for you. Nice hook.
So that's another really good position too. The Pudge really took advantage of it, really roaming and ganking as well. I mean, we have some great wards there to actually give them some nice vision. They do end up seeing the Observer ward.
He does smoke it out too. He did it undercover, so that ward actually provided no vision of Pudge, who was invisible and gets the hook off on the other Titan. Great move by Pudge.
So the next part that we actually want to see here is actually 21 minutes and about 20 seconds in the top jungle. So
looks like they're gonna go for this. Doesn't seem like anything. Let's fast forward and keep going. I really want to get to the mid game decisions, because like these things, they'll walk up, get caught, things like this. You know, trade a 1-for-1. This is even here. It's your mid game decisions and map control. You know, limiting towers. This is what I really want to get into with the meat of this video, is how did you use the space you've created? You know, looking, like we said, let's go back to the drawing board here. Take a step back and look at what's going on in the game. Dire has a kill advantage. We are all even on towers. They have a Roche advantage, but they never use the Aegis correctly. So what are they going to do as a Radiant team to make sure Dire doesn't get to that crazy late game that we talked about? Or how does Radiant, you know, or how does Dire secure themselves to that crazy late game? So I think Dire needs to start taking towers. You know, you see this fight one top, the team should group and take towers. What do you think?
Based on this as well, I definitely agree with you. I mean, this really has to deal with, again, the main topic we're talking about is just having a lot of map control. Having map control is really going to make it hard for the enemy team to roam around. And as we can see, I mean, Radiant's actually taking some of these really big team fights, and it's actually helping them secure more and more of the Dire jungle. So this is really going to hurt the Dire side, especially with a Lycan when he really needs to rely on that jungle gold to get his farm up so that we can push a little bit harder.
And like I said, they need a limit in map control. So here's the perfect thing: you're gonna have Leshrac, who's a great tower pusher, and PL just throw his right clicks out. You know, really get that tower down. If you limit this top tower, you cut it off. They don't have a safety net in moving to their top jungle. You can place a deep ward down and start ganking them and limit that late game prowess that Dire can have. And that's how you're going to realize your team's advantage versus the enemy team's advantage.
And we're seeing these team fights actually go out over and over again. Again, the Pudge having great positioning, just making sure he's hiding in the trees to actually get a hook off, and actually picks off the Lina, which is actually a decent play. I mean, at this point, there's a lot of space being created by the Radiant side. It's actually still giving a ton of room for the Chaos Knight to farm.
Nice. One thing I want to mention there, the Disruptor was sitting mid farming that whole time, and that's something that is slightly a mistake. You want to have the Disruptor with you. I mean, he plays with the team. You want to have him, no matter what he does, is like use his spells, use his right clicks to put damage down. Disruptor doesn't quite need the farm right now, sitting mid. Staying with the team potentially would have been much better there and landed another kill.
That's true. I think the next part we want to actually fast forward to just a little bit is about 24 minutes, 50 seconds in. I'm going to take a look and see what's happening here in the bottom lane.
All right. And looks like both team are content with farming up right now. It's
See a lot of team movement.
yeah, I wanna look at, okay, Chaos Knight, he's a little far up. The other team, they drop a nice deep ward, and oof, looks like they're gonna go for him right here. Maybe they're gonna grab the they grab the stun off, and you know, this is something that, well, Chaos Knight is on his own. He got caught out. He was slightly overextended. But what I want to notice is the Radiant team movement. What are they doing in this second, knowing that their team, one of their guys got caught out? Leshrak's farming, Disruptor's mid, and Pudge is top. So
PL's farming as well.
And PL's farming as well. So what you want to notice is they opted to farm over protecting a teammate. Not saying that's always a bad thing, is what is that trade-off? Was that for a key item? Was that for something that was very important? Or was that just because they had like not the best awareness in catching, you know, saving their team? And so here you have a bunch of TPs in. Now they're responding to a fight. Perhaps they can get a couple of these pickoffs here. You know, and this is something I do kind of want to touch on, even though it's not quite within the scope of the video, is the Disruptor skill build. Not skilling Glimpse there, not maxing Glimpse there was actually a one miss kill. That could have definitely been a Glimpse back Lina kill or a Glimpse back Lycan kill.
Makes sense. And a lot of times if you are playing a Disruptor, you always want to make sure you throw your Static Shock down. Static Shock actually gives you vision of the enemy hero. So a lot of times if you can't see the hero, the Static Shock will give that vision for you. And Glimpse has a massive, massive range. I think at 1800 range, that's roughly like half of Sniper's, no, a little bit more than half of Sniper's ult. So I mean, he could glimpse someone back from
full screen away.
Full screen away.
All right, yeah. So it looks like, you know, this is a part as a team you want to start looking back. This is the mid game part where, you know, you're past the laning stage. It's very easy to get in a lull of let's farm up. But as the Radiant team, you can't have that luxury. You can't say, hey, we can just, you know, we're gonna beat the Medusa late game. We're gonna beat the Lycan late game. We're going to go for these big out plays in the late game. That's something that's not as reliable to go for. You're going to lose out on it eventually. I think what the better thing is here is I think PL has the right idea on the bot lane. He does go for that push, gets a nice kill in the bot lane. They're grabbing a kill here, but it's the kill here that, ooh, maybe I spoke too soon. Pudge does get himself killed, but seeing this, the PL needs to turn and go forward in pushing that bot lane. Cut off the creep wave. You know, get as efficient as you can at pushing to take the pressure off of your team. That top river fight seems like it turned around in Radiant's favor. This is a go time. This is where they need to make the decision that we can't take it late game. We need to go for limiting map control. And that is exactly what PL is doing, but it doesn't seem like his team's on board with that.
You know, and actually, Farm Medusa is actually often one thing that I get very concerned about in a lot of games. It's just so hard to stop her. But I never really thought about this. PL with the Diffusal Blade is decent. I mean, works decently well against Medusa, doesn't he?
Yeah, Mana Burn's really good against Medusa.
Alright, so the next part we're going to look at over here is about 30 minutes in. We're going to be looking at the top Radiant side jungle. So,
Dire's bottom
slow it down.
tower get to business.
okay. Speed it up just a little bit.
Alright, so, I mean, you want to get maximum farm efficiency, you want to get maximum movement. PL's getting some farm. Perhaps he's working towards that Manta style, saying, hey, I want to make a go point after I make my Manta style. But it looks like they're farming for this top side. The Dire team have decided, alright, well, it's time for us to push now. We want to create some space for the Medusa. And I guess that's the play here. But they throw out the Split Earth, a couple TPs come in, and the tower gets denied. Alright, now what's the play? By Radiant's vision, if you look on the minimap, they should be able to see the Medusa and the Anti-Mage mid, because their creeps were there and they were just pushing. So as a group, you should probably chase 4v3, 5v3 on this top lane before the Anti-Mage and Medusa can catch up, and then back off when they come in.
Alright, so it looks like we have teamfight actually unfolding here. So you see a nice kinetic build coming out from the Disruptor. Everybody's going to go through respawn. And I mean, at this point, I do feel like Dire's is actually starting to stick a little bit more closer to each other.
Yes, they are. Looking at this,
Let's slow down just a little bit. Go ahead.
slightly faster.
Okay.
It looks like, there's quite a bit of action happening. They're going for the squishies on the backside. However, CK's single target damage is really showing here. All 4 of those illusions doing 100% damage, doing crazy amounts of work over on all the little things here. So it's definitely a one team fight for the Radiant side. Now they need to push with it, because playing as Radiant in this situation, if you find the enemy team with more late game power, more late game types of heroes, what you want to do is put pressure on yourself to do something. You win a fight like this, you have to take towers. And this is exactly what they're doing. This is very commendable for the Radiant team, is shoving mid with Leshrac, shoving top with CK and PL and Pudge, and this cuts off pressure. Looking at this cuts off the entire Dire jungle completely. There's no safety TP points, there's no place to retreat to after a team fight for the Dire side, and now you play the starvation game. You make sure their carries can't get farmed.
That's true. And this is actually a really great point that I didn't notice before, is the fact that they actually lost both their tier 2 towers here and here, which gives this entire
region. Top lane?
Yeah. The entire top area is just completely black, so you don't have any vision, they can't see anything, and what's gonna happen. It's a big team fight actually coming out.
Looks like a slight overextension. They really wanted to push. This is a mistake. It happens to everyone. You get unbalanced. You're like, okay, we need to push. They're late game. We want to take a Rax. But it's going to happen. You overstay your welcome slightly. So Dire should take advantage now. They want a team fight, and they should get some farm, I think, because they need farmed carries.
And they're actually making a really good decision here, because I do remember at this point they are going for the Roshan. And I think that's actually not a bad idea, considering that they do have 2 heroes down from the Radiant side, and this would be a good way to actually give them some type of advantage before they push again.
Yep, this is perfect from the Dire side. They're doing really good plays. While they're taking this, I want you to notice they are going for the top lane push with the anti-mage. This is perfect farming. Mid lane, Medusa's getting farm. Lycan just took a Roche. Ooh, slightly missed Split Earth. Great. Very good stomp. This is really good as a teamfight setup, and all the while this is happening, this is what Dire needs to be thinking. Alright, let's take a fight, stall time. Our anti-mage is pushing the top lane. You want to create as much space for the anti-mage as possible. If the anti-mage... Oh, it looks like the CK maybe TP'd on him, got a really good, nice stun off, and kind of pushed him out of there. But now that they know that CK is not in the fight, you need to go hard. So it's sort of this balance, where if you see someone on the other side of the map, you can go. If you don't see someone, you have to be careful. And that's the type of plays that you want to be making.
So this is actually something that was very interesting that was going on. We see actually the Pudge position himself in the forest right here. He does have the vision from the creeps when it comes out.
Oh my.
But at this point, I mean, he knows that the entire Dire team is trying to push for the tier 2 tower, and they're going to do what they can to defend it. They're going to pop the glyph, and again, this is going to be really important for controlling enemy movement. If they keep this tier 2 tower out, they also lose out the majority of their jungle.
Exactly, and this is really good from the Dire side, recognizing that we have an opportunity to lock off them. This is something that we're going to go for. And here you see, this is where I want to illustrate what is strictly outplay versus gameplay. Gameplay I hype on because it's very important to making decisions, winning you the long run game, playing the overall game as a type of idea. But look at that. That was the outplay that saved the day. The outplay from the Pudge, getting the really back and pick off, getting a perfect angle, actually results in a team wipe. So, going for the outplay, it's cool, it's flashy, it works. Sometimes it works, maybe all the time. But the gameplay decision, that's what these replay analysis is, that's what we want to focus on. So that was a decent gameplay decision by the Dire side. It was just outdone with an outplay from the Radiant side.
Alright, so the next part we actually want to focus on is about 35 minutes in. We're going to speed it up slightly here. So what we're going to actually watch out here is actually for the Radiant push into the tier 2 tower.
Alright, this is something that you want to look out for. They just want a teamfight bottom. They're going to go for a bot tower push. This is good. They have forced 2 TPs. Their CK is going to focus a lot here. Now, I want you to notice right here, while they're doing this, PL's pushing the mid. PL's making sure that they secure that map control. PL's entire goal right now is I need that Rax. I need to lock out their control. I need to make sure they don't have their type of map advantage they have. And now, you know, playing as a Dire, put yourself in the Dire shoes. In their eyes, they're like, oh shit, I need to go for mid. You know, that PL is going mid. I need to put my type of control on that side. Pudge makes a nice little outplay here. But now, it's a staggered push. You look at the bot side, and you're going to have Leshrac going for another tower, limiting map control. This is exactly what Radiant need to do to force Dire not to get to late game. Starve him out.
And at this point, this is really where you see a turning point. I mean, up to this point, I mean, 36 minutes in, the game has been fairly even. A lot of great even team fights, a lot of good exchanges. But like Happy mentioned, the minute that the entire team is moving down mid, the Shrek took advantage of it and immediately moved bot to try to take down the towers as quickly as possible as well. And he's going to get away with a successful TP. They didn't have any lockdown to actually take care of him. Yeah, some crap talking about.
Yeah, and so I want you to look at the Dire minimap. Right now, you can almost draw a straight diagonal line in that top little corner. That's all they're allowed to. If they walk out of there, they could potentially go out and get killed. Medusa right now going right there. If Radiant get a deep sentry ward, they can, or not deep sentry ward, deep observer ward, they can actually limit the entire Dire jungle. Smoke gank people, gank as like 4 with 1 split push. Overall, the idea is to starve out the Dire team.
I'm actually going to show you guys how much vision the Dire side has. If you take a look here, they barely have any vision of their entire jungle. They can't see anything that's going on the Radiant side. I mean, Lena's starting to put some wards out, but they have this really deep ward bottom, which...
Not doing much, you know? They need farm. They need a secure farm as a team. Medusa needs her big items. She needs like 3 or 4 items. Right now, you know, Lincoln's Manta doesn't give you much damage. Anti-Mage, let's check his items. He looks like Anti-Mage over there. Yeah, he's working towards his BKB, not quite fighting items, or not quite damage items. Fighting items for sure. But you see now, you have this awkward Medusa and your Anti-Mage, who are supposed to be farming, just sitting in the mid lane, just kind of waiting for the other team to push because they're so scared to go out. If they go out, they get ganked out. You know, it's tough. And so that staggered push from the PL mid lane to the Leshrac bot lane, that type of split focus, you know, creates for opportunities like this. You lock out the enemy team. They go for some sort of a farming objective, they're going to get killed.
You know, let's take a look too and see. I mean, we saw the Dire side map. Let's take a look at the Radiant side map. So if you look at the Radiant side, they have actually quite a bit of vision. They can see their entire jungle there in case Dire
someone sneaks it, you know.
Yep. And then we've got sentry wards protecting them. We also have them placing a very aggressive ward right here, which actually gives them full vision in case the team tries to push out. I mean, they're sitting in a fairly comfortable position. I mean, Dire can't even safely rosh.
Yeah, I think the only thing Dire has access to are creeps that push in and their ancient camp, which is very little gold to split among a Medusa and an Anti-Mage. Now Anti-Mage has stopped all forms of farm. The Radiant side can just take over bottom, take over the enemy jungle, take over their own jungle, and just maximize farm. They can accelerate ahead and then just close them out. This starvation game type of play, as long as you just wait it out, make sure you get an item or two ahead of the enemy team, you'll slowly push in. And it looks like, oh, Chaos Knight can't wait for it. He's just going for the big plays.
Maybe he dived a little bit too deep there, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
For the racks, but his team wasn't there to help support him. They weren't pressuring mid, so there wasn't really much of a response that they have. But we're actually going to fast forward this game. We're actually going to get around to about the 40.5-minute mark.
Let's see if, because I mean, right now it's all just the Dire team sitting around while the Radiant team pushes in a wave. They get the kills. But Radiant, on the other hand, is taking the entirety of Dire's jungle. I think they could be using their own jungle a little more effectively, just by getting all the money they can squeeze out of it and just keep shoving in the Dire lanes to make sure that they can't quite get all the farm they want.
Right. So once again, I mean, let's take a look at the vision here. I mean, it's just this deep ward right there is really do nothing for the Dire side. I think they placed that earlier when they thought they were going to push that tier 2. But at this point, you really want to go. You really want to secure your rivers and your runes. Make sure that you know where the enemy movement is the entire time. So
mostly, you just want to secure farm. You want to get your own jungle warded up so you're safe, right? But you know, Medusa, she's going for a Scotty. It's just coming slow, and if all the farm's going to Medusa, then what's the Lycan getting? What's the anti-mage getting? They're not going to be, oh, nice. They're going to try to do something about this. In this position, I keep harping on Radiant's positives. Here's the dire positive. They're going to go for smoking. You're locked in your base. Go find a pickoff and try to turn the tides. However, right now, they need to focus on one objective. Go for something. This is, again, why split pressure is so good. You force the enemy team to make risky plays. You have the Phantom Lancer continuously pressuring top, and then people want to go back and defend, miscommunication, and then all of a sudden you have people just caught out. Basically, you're going to have these three caught out, and you know at this point, Chaos Knight's really strong. You know, that's a Manta. Once he pops his ult, he could pretty much one-shot Lina. He could probably two-shot Anti-Mage, and this is a way you force them out of position. Medusa's not in this fight.
Still farming back bought this lane. I think she actually showed up in this fight. She could maybe cast her ult, actually really help them win this fight. But because she was not there, I mean, we're going to see the enemy actually be brought down by the Chaos Knight. The Elder Titan's brought down. Lina got two-shotted. Lycan goes down. I mean,
and I think here's the closeout. See, that's why starving them does good things. It forces them to try to make plays for themselves. That creates for, you know, opportunity for a mistake. I'm pretty sure this is pretty much the end of the game. This is 2 racks, 3 racks if not. You know, you create so much map control, you create so much vision. I think Radiant played this almost perfectly. From that staggered push and on, they starved him out, forced him to make a mistake. They made a mistake, they capitalized the mistake, and now the Radiant are in commanding lead.
And the important thing here that you really want to pay attention to is not only did Radiant side completely limit the enemy movement, they were perfectly roaming around, making sure that the Anti-Mage, Lycan, and Medusa were not able to secure the farm that they needed, and they completely bled out their jungle. They had nothing to farm safely. It was just scary for them just to even move out. And that's one thing we want to talk about here too is, I mean, our previous replay analysis, we talked about people not taking objectives after a big fight, and this is a perfect example of making sure you take objectives after fights come on. And a nice suicide from Leshrac.
Yeah, and now they're just pushing the 3rd set of racks. You know, there will be a couple deaths here and there, missteps, but, you know, as you guys can all probably guess, the foregone conclusion of this game is going to be a Radiant win. There's 2 racks down on a dire side. Their cores aren't farmed enough. There's going to be just basic, you know, catch-outs. And you see now PL's utilizing his jungle to farm. Chaos Knight's taking the enemy jungle. Disruptor's taking the rest of it. Leshrac's getting whatever he can. Pudge is running around trying to create some open space, maybe look for an opportunity hook. But that's exactly what happens when you limit the enemy team. You get more farm, they get less farm, and you can get them killed.
We're actually seeing another Roshan being secured by the Chaos Knight. I mean, at this point, they just need to go for a GG push.
Yeah, you know, secure the Roche, secure the Aegis. Chaos Knight takes it and just goes ham. Chaos Knight has a luxury too. He has huge amounts of damage. He has huge amounts of health. Super tanky. You know, that's something that you want to go look for. So, looks like with this, they're going to go for a push, and if Dire can't pull a miracle, this game's over.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty funny to push hooked the Disruptor on their blink.
Alright, come on, Ozzy. Submit us a replay and then troll in it. That's perfect.
It's pretty funny. But, I mean, at this point, there's just not much they can really do. I mean, let's take a look at the builds here. The Lina... You know, actually, come to think about it, I didn't really see the Lina appear in a whole lot of team fights.
She was played as support, you know. Everyone's used to seeing Lina carry nowadays. You look at those items, that's a support Lina build. She probably bought a couple wards, she bought some sentries to de-ward. Killed a lot because she doesn't have that health from getting items, from being in the mid lane farming position. And I think Dire suffered a little bit from too much carry syndrome. And Radiant capitalized on it perfectly. Limited the farm from the carry syndrome.
That's a very, very greedy lineup. But other than that, I mean, this game is going to be...
I think we can speed up through.
Yeah.
Maybe watch the last fight for...
Shits and giggles.
Shits and giggles. Let's look for it. Right, nice stomp. Great pull together. Slightly fast. Yeah. So we're going to see this, how the aftermath of all that farm pulls out. They pick up on Leshrac in the back, which is nice. But look at this Chaos Knight. You can't kill him. he still has the Aegis. His illusion army alone took out the Lina. You have a buyback from the Leshrac. They take out the Chaos Knight Phalanx, but that expends 2 BKBs and throws 2 cores really low.
And he has an Aegis popped up, so he's ready to get right back into the fight. The Pudge is still coming in, getting in tons of kills, just disabling everything he can. Great kinetic build from the Disruptor. And fills everybody out. We've got buybacks coming in. They're becoming diebacks at this point. The Lina can't really do much. She's not even able to secure stuns because she's so weak and has such low health. I mean, they're pretty much going to get Megas here. And
Megas? You know, like with a big carry lineup, you can defend against Megas, you'd think, but your Medusa doesn't have Rapier, doesn't have Butterfly, doesn't have big damage items. She has Manta, Link, and Scotty. She wants to be tanky. There's no damage real items. I mean, Scotty, I guess, gives you 25 plus all stats and a little bit of damage. But it's just not enough to hold Megas. You get the Megas, it's pretty much a secured win by now, and they're just found in diving as most pubs.
This is just me, so they're just going to fast forward it.
Alright.
So what we're going to do here is we're going to do another Dotabuff item analysis. And other than that, guys, thanks for joining this part.
And we'll... yeah. Intro.
Alright guys, so here we are with the Dotabuff view of actually the different items that were built during the game itself and also during the timing. So we want to point out first off to the player that submitted this replay, which is OziixD, playing the Pudge, and we'll have Happy take over from here.
Alright, so let's take a look at this Pudge build. You know, you have a Tranquil Soul Ring, and then you go straight into a Hood, Blink, Ags. That's the basic gist of what he built. And I want to note something about Pudge as a hero. Pudge is insanely good at finding opportunity in killing enemies. Whether it's mostly through his skill set of hooking someone, being able to suppress them down, and then do a lot of magic damage to them over time. So things like Blink and Force Staff as a positioning tool is really good for walking at them through angles that they don't expect, blinking off to the side and throwing a hook, or force staffing them for a hook, force staffing a creep out of the way, force staffing yourself over to the side and throwing a hook. The reason for the Hood is to reduce the magic damage on Rot, because Rot does do damage both ways to the enemy and to Pudge himself, so getting a Hood reduces that damage, and Ags just adds more damage to your ult based on your strength.
So that's a really great item for the Pudge itself. The next hero we want to talk about here is actually the Lycan. Jungle Lycan's fairly popular, so there's a lot of times when you want to make sure you're building certain items to really synergize the way you're farming the jungle as efficiently as possible, so that way you're not really wasting time to accelerate your farm and start pushing those waves as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and so he goes for a typical Vlad's build because Vlad's helps him sustain infinitely in the jungle with his waves, with his wolves, and he can also, with a medallion, do Roche. We saw him take it. I think it was slightly premature because he ended up with very low health in the game. However, that is a build you can do. It accelerates your farm in level and levels. So taking that as early as possible also gives you some leeway when you go for those super heavy pushes, solo split pushes from the team, take out a tier 2 and tier 3 while they're not focused. And we see with his next item, he does go for that Necronomicon. So Necronomicon, 2 walls with the Feral Spirit and Howl is like crazy damage to towers. Lycan melts towers. It's like hot butter through knife. And so he goes the correct build here. It's at a fairly decent timing, so he can go for it. However, he never really gets to execute the dream plan, is where his team takes a 4-on-5, and he's off to the side pushing down a tier 1, tier 2, and half a tier 3 through like 30 or 40 seconds of a fight. It's unbelievable how much pushing power he has. He just never utilized it to its full potential.
And that was really something that made Radiant win this game, I feel. It's just the fact that every time there was a team fight going on, you either had a PL split pushing or you had the Leshrac split pushing. So there's just so much things going on at the same time. It made it very difficult for Dire to defend against and ultimately helped him win the game.
Exactly. So take home message from this video. Too much carry syndrome means that you're going to have too much farm that you need to allocate to your team before you get effective. If the enemy team capitalizes on that and goes for a strong early push, shuts off your farm, shuts off your map control, you're going to lose farm. And then all of a sudden you have these people who are gold reliant, namely like Medusa and Anti-Mage. They need money, they need items, and they need levels. If you cut that off from them, they become useless heroes. And so Radiant took really good control of this game and showing how they can punish the too much carry syndrome.
And the other thing too is just really limiting enemy movement. We saw a lot of great wards actually coming up from the Radiant side. We saw really, near the end there, just Dire had no vision. They couldn't see anything. They had nowhere to go. They were just scared to death to just run out. So
Exactly.
again, great shout out to OziixD. Thank you so much for this replay. It was a great game to actually go through and watch. Just really paying attention to making sure you're taking objectives and whatnot. Other than that, any last words, Happy?
Nope, shout out to OziixD. Thanks for the replay, and be sure to watch us to learn how to close out and win games in the future.
Alright guys, this is Zero2Infinity from Crowd Control. Be sure to subscribe and we'll catch you guys next time.